a successful human, that there are lots of different paths and everyone has different strengths and talents that they bring to the table. And so it's interesting to ask the same question and get such diverse answers from people who have been successful at what they've done. And then also then I do try to throw in a couple of questions that are specific to the speaker that we have that week, and I've done that today too. So that's kind of our format, and at the end, then Felix will also come out and have a conversation with you to answer your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and do a formal introduction, because it looks like about 80% of you read his bio, and the other 20% maybe not. So, Felix Medina, he was born and raised in Ciudad Juarez, Mexico. He studied a Bachelor of Arts in Hispanic Literature and Linguistics at the Autonomous University of Ciudad Juarez. He moved to Indiana in 2007. He founded Vedia Global, named after his daughter, in 2014. It was a translation company that he later sold in 2020. From 2020 to 23, he taught Hispanic literature at the International School of Indiana. And then he decided to make the leap and go back to corporate America. He joined the team of R1, Radio 1, which many of you have probably heard of. It's a giant marketing company based in downtown Indianapolis, but it's a global marketing company. I'll let him tell you more about that. When he's not working, you can find Felix traveling, drinking a cup of coffee, hiking, playing tennis, or listening to Bad Bunny. As a language aficionado, he's fluent in Spanish, English, and Portuguese. He's currently studying Turkish, French, and Italian. And Felix is also passionate about higher education, especially when it comes to inspiring a new generation of leaders. And we were just having a side conversation, and he was saying how wonderful it was to see all you and just remembering what it was like to be in your shoes and feeling inspired.
A few years ago.
A few, just a few.
Just a little bit.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Fireside chat. So Felix, can you briefly describe your entrepreneurship leadership story? Give us a little background. What inspired you to start that journey?
Sure. So this will be divided into two. The first thing would be my father. My father basically started a company from the ground up in the middle of the economic crisis in Mexico. So it was very meaningful to see someone who, I'm a storyteller, so everything I want to respond, I'll connect it to a story. I hope you appreciate stories. So I remember my dad saying, I'm creating this delivery company, right, this logistics company. He started by driving the car himself, and this car was a piece of crap. And on the bottom of the car, we had a hole. And it was like a Flintstones car. You were driving on the highway, you could see the street going right there. So it's a very vivid memory because that was the first car he utilized in people himself. And 17 years later, he had semis, pickup trucks, multiple cars, a whole fleet, and he had concessions for trains and boats. And for me, that was very impressive to see. So that definitely inspired me. So when I came to the States, I got a very good example of hard work to start a business. And the second thing is because my business was a translation company. I'm obsessed with languages since I was a kid. Back in the day when I was a kid, there was no laptops or cell phones. So what I did is I would grab encyclopedias from my family's library and I would look at images of the world. And I got inspired by that. So since I was a kid, I was very fixated with traveling and languages. So when the opportunity came, I was able to, through the United States, obviously, with the opportunity to have travel around the world, and the passion and the languages international.
Thank you. Can you talk about no path is a straight line? I'm sure you faced some significant challenges. Can you give an example of a challenge or significant challenge you faced as a leader or entrepreneur? How did you overcome it, and any lessons learned from that that you can impart?
Yeah, sure. So business I ran for a few years that was definitely a failure for me, and the way I look at it now is that if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have been able to have the opportunity to have it right now. So I was able to see that as a segue to something better for me. But to understand that when you're in business and you have failures like that, those things become the necessary evil, so to speak, and that will allow you to kind of really move forward and to understand that we're human beings, right? So we're very emotional. So the thing is that once that, that's temporary. So once that is over, you're able to get back to your normal senses, so to speak. It's the suffering and the pain you're feeling inside from whatever is going on. You can apply that to everything. It's so temporary. So that's where my mind went. It's like, we're going to go through this and we're going to be able to figure it out. And we're going to have to do this anymore.
Thank you for sharing that. It's not uncommon. It's not a story. You know, the business press likes to paint very sexy, straightforward stories. Like, this person started a business, first time out of the gate, they were very successful, and here they are on the cover. And the data doesn't support that at all. Most successful people have multiple failures before, but they learn from them before finding that success. With entrepreneurship, I think it's typically like at least 3 businesses before you hit the right note. But it's also common for people to make that switch from entrepreneurship to corporate, back to entrepreneurship, back to corporate. Can you talk about talk about that transition from owning your own business to going to work for a large company in the corporate world?
I realize that I'm not a decision maker anymore. That was the first thing, to understand that I am not the head honcho. I'm not going to take all the big decisions. I have a team. I need to listen to other people, and I need to, make up some way for that inside of my head. Like, it's a mental game business. So I had to understand that I had to be on the table with a lot of people who perhaps don't think like me, don't see things like me, they don't look like me, they don't have the same or similar background. That was the challenge, but it has also positive things. As an entrepreneur, I was familiar with how corporate America runs, so switching back to corporate America was not really difficult because that's what I like, really, to be outside, making the sales calls, being with clients. That's always been something that attracts me a lot.
I know you're passionate about marketing, and to be an entrepreneur, you're a salesperson, a marketer. In case many of the students probably have heard of Radio 1, some may know what it is, but just to give them slight context, can you just briefly describe what the company does?
Absolutely. So Radio 1 is a huge corporation, and that includes several different platforms or stations. So Radio 1 in Indianapolis has 10 radio stations. From those, 2 of them are fully in Spanish, and also we own a TV station, which is the Vedia in Spanish as well. Now, besides that, in the last 10 years, Radio 1 has been doing quite a bit of work with digital marketing platforms. So we're one of 400 Google partners, for example. We've got the premium tier of partnership, which is not very common. Companies have that. So yeah, we do a lot of damage with digital marketing as well, and radio and TV.
Thank you. So, getting to leadership, you have a team, you are a leader in your field. Can you describe just in general your leadership style? I don't know if you've ever taken any assessments and how to, I guess formal assessments of how those would compare to how you see yourself. Can you talk a little bit about your leadership style?
Yeah, so I took the assessment that I believe he's a teacher, Mr. Rob. Yep, he sent me an assessment. So according to the assessment, I'm a balanced evangelist. So when I'm leadering or I'm being the leader of the department where I am very passionate about what we do. I'm very passionate about our products, and I carry the banner, very well. And because of that, I am driven by the energy that I see around me, which is created by people. So I'm a people's person. would be through, might sound like a cliche, but it's through love and compassion and care. Why? Because if I'm asking for you to have a result, and that's all I do, numbers are very cold, so your response is probably not going to be very good to me, right? I don't see that you're selling, but if I care of you, and if I ask you the right questions, how are you doing, and I show you that you're important to me as well, plus I ask for results and for those sales, that would probably work better for everybody, right?
I noticed as students were coming in, when we first got here, there were just a couple, and then as it filled in, your energy level went like this. I think you were drawing on that. Yeah. So I actually could observe that even.
Yeah.
So at times you do have to be numbers driven, and sometimes you have to, right? So what are some? Can you give an example of how on your team you've built how you built that complementary skill set? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a lot of introspection, so it's analyzing yourself and knowing what am I capable of doing and what's my strength and what is not. So, as I said, I want to piggyback right with my last comment, I'm a people's person, so I'm good with sales in a particular way, right? But for example, right now we have a lot of softwares that we need to learn, and I like sitting in front of the computer figuring out a software, but that's not like my cup of tea. So I will ask somebody from the team, hey, figure out this new software we have, you bring the bullet points and explain me very clear the basics, right? And then I can go to my thing, which is being with clients face to face, making sales calls, etc., etc. So that's kind of like how I try to make up for what I don't have. But it requires a tremendous amount of honesty with yourself and that introspection that has to be. You cannot like lie to yourself. You know what I mean? You know what you're good at, and you know what you're not. So it just takes courage to see that and ask for that help. Even any leader will have to do that.
Courage, humility, and introspection.
Exactly.
Thank you. You talked already about this, so if you don't have anything to add, that's fine, but I wanted to ask if there was anything else that you can provide examples of how you're building how you build a positive culture and how you empower others.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it has to be definitely by example, right? So if I am asking for respect in between colleagues, I need to first respect them and respect myself. So a lot of these things come from how are you living and setting an example for yourself. I don't know if that makes sense.
Walk the walk.
Exactly. It's very easy to talk, but
Thank you. How important has mentorship and a support network been either in your entrepreneurial or leadership journey or both? Can you share an example of a mentor who's made a significant impact on you?
yeah, mentorship is very important because you're trying to find a mentor is like you're trying to find somebody who has all those skills that you're looking for yourself. And perhaps one person's not going to have all of them, but you can choose 2 or even 3 that will allow you to learn those skills. And that has to be part of your, I guess, career or your entrepreneurial life for sure. And you need to identify who those individuals are. I think it's very important. I definitely have a mentor in mind. Would you like to know that about him? So one of or the mentor is a professor from college. So it's been a while. I graduated in 06. So so that unfortunately he's not in this realm of reality with us anymore. But he's definitely the person that most impacted me, and I get very emotional when I talk about him because you can just try to imagine someone who can teach at a university level law, sociology, ancient Greek, ancient Latin, literally 16 different languages written and read whatever. There's nothing that he doesn't know. So at the end of the class, he would come to some students, sometimes to me, and say, hey, I want some feedback. How do you like the class? And I'm like, seriously? You're like this genius and you're asking me for feedback? So that goes back to what you were saying about the amount of humility that you need to have sometimes as a leader. So for me, to be honest with you, I don't think I will ever meet anybody like that, at that level. But maybe you're lucky to meet two of them in your lifetime. Yeah. So yeah, I get the goosebumps every time I talk about him. His name is Dr. Federico Ferrugari. He was an Italian immigrant to Mexico. So he would teach a class in better Spanish than mine, and that wasn't even his first language.
Is he who inspired you to be so passionate about language?
Yeah, definitely. I would say half of the reason why I'm so passionate about language is because of him.
I'm going to build on that just a little bit. This was
Go
one of the
for it.
questions I wrote just for you. So, you're fluent in 3 languages. You're pretty good at 3 more, honestly. I know people, once they're fluent, fluency is a word that people have little different definitions of. So you and I, all of us might say, well, he's kind of fluent in 6 languages, but you're definitely fluent in 3. You know 3 other languages. What drives this? And that was a part of your business too. Big part of it. What drives your passion for learning new languages? And also, how has, as a mom, I told you I wanted my kids to be, speak multiple languages, and they both are fluent in multiple languages today as young adults. So this is something that's dear to my heart. So what drives that passion for you for learning new languages, and how has being multilingual really impacted or enhanced your life, whether it's personally, professionally, or both?
There's a quote that says, quote by a linguist, and it says, people who speak languages have 2 souls. And I really like that quote because it really resonates with my approach with languages. So a language is not only a language that you can utilize to just talk, right? A language is something you can utilize to kind of cross a threshold. Crossing a portal into somebody else's approach to life, somebody else's way to express, right, our life and show emotions. And believe it or not, the way we fixate things and we appreciate about life is very different depending on the culture and that is expressed through the language, right? So, for example, if you're a person who lives in Greenland, right, there's 17 different ways to describe ice or snow. And for us, the snow is snow, and the ice goes in the rain. That's it. And for them, it's a whole world. See where I'm going with this? So, languages are definitely a way to connect with people's hearts. And for me, it's very important to know that because, again, it goes back to people, right? For me, the most important thing is people. So, I want to connect with you. And here's a little story. I said I was going to share a few stories, so here's a short one. Because I'm obsessed with languages and cultures, I try to travel as much as I can. So my dream destination was Iceland for many years. In 2016, I was able to do Iceland. So as you all know, or you may not know, I don't know, but Icelandic is one of the most hardest languages in the entire world. They have like 7 consonants in a row, right? And it's crazy. Like the compound words are like, if you think German is difficult, Icelandic is very difficult. So I grabbed some of the most basic phrases, and on my way there, I had 6 or 8 hours, and I went over the phrases again, kind of like I was in another world. You know what I mean? Like I was repeating. The flight attendant was looking at me like, "Are you okay?" So finally, I mastered this couple of phrases in Icelandic. So when I get to Iceland, that's another story, got detained by the customs, which for me, I'm not gonna go there, but for me that's very typical. So I get detained, and I'm in a room, right? And I'm with the Icelandic officers, and they're very nice people. U.S. citizenship, so I was traveling on a Mexican passport. And they said, it's just not working, our machine doesn't, click. So I'm there about an hour waiting, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna use it, see where it goes. So I knew how to say, all right, so how are things going? That's one of the phrases that I learned. So when I see them going back and forth between their cubicles and offices, I finally stand up and say, well, the line let me get it. And then he looked at me like, holy crap, this guy is speaking Icelandic to us. So that breaking of the ice, literally the guy started laughing, right? And the other guy that heard me too, they both started laughing, right? And they turned around and they said, buenos dias, señor. That kind of like connection, right? It was so amazing. And 5 seconds later, he grabbed my passport and he stamped it, and he was like, you're a good guy, right? And I'm like, yeah, of course, and okay, have a good stay in Iceland. So that's just a very small, maybe simple example, but that's a great example on how languages can take you to places you didn't imagine. In this case, they took me to Iceland because otherwise I would probably be kicked out of Iceland, I don't know. They call the Mexican embassy or something, I don't know, but yeah.
That's a great story.
Thank
It's a
you.
great story. Thank you for sharing that. I think this builds nicely onto a question about your values, because this is really, you're expressing that through these stories too. How does your leadership or business style reflect your values, and how do you make sure that your purpose stays aligned with your goals?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that's a difficult question for some businesses. You have to be able to intertwine and attach your product, your strategies, and how you manage people with your core values as a business, right? So a good example is the company that I'm working for right now, Radio One. They're huge advocates for diversity. Right? They always tell the community in Indianapolis, we preach diversity. And a lot of companies do that, but what I like about Radio One is that, for example, I am a living proof that they are focusing on that, because I've been recently hired by them in the last 6 months. And on the same floor with me, I have colleagues that are African American, I have colleagues that are literally, for lack of better terms, immigrants that are fresh off the boat. And I have people that are right-wing MAGA supporters, and I have people that are left-wing that are super liberal. And I have all these types of people that are on the same floor, and for me that is diversity. And the fact that the company focuses on bringing everybody into the same department, that speaks volumes, because that allows you to understand other points of view to listen, which is something that we're not used to anymore in our society, to listen. We're used to talk.
Thank you. Good message today. What impact do you hope your business or even just your leadership will have on whether it's your community? And we think about impact at different levels, so it doesn't matter how you want to answer this, but there's no right answer. But it's your community or your industry or your society as a whole, or maybe just your team. How do you think about purpose and impact?
Yeah, so for me, speaking from my own personal story, I want my community to know that I'm here to build a community with them. I'm here to make sure that the community knows I'm a server of that community, that I'm here to bring something on, right, instead of taking. And on a society level, I definitely want society to know that I am not in the box that perhaps has been labeled people like me before. And by that I mean I am an immigrant, I am a Mexican, I am very proud of that, and I am building this beautiful nation with you as well. In a business level, I want to do things that are different. I want to do things that perhaps some other people will laugh about, be like, this guy is dreaming, or it's a little too out there, but I want to be recognized that I will put in the hard work to make those dreams possible.
Thank you. I inspiring. So you're here today, even though you're very busy. I know. You've got a big job. You've got a family. You don't live in Muncie. You made the trip up here. How do you manage work-life integration or balance? How do you make sure that you maintain your well-being through all the things you have on your plate?
When I read the questions, that was the most difficult question. It's kind of like a hot topic, because when you're running a business or when you have a nice position in a company, you're so right. Time is gold, really. And I became a calendar freak, so I put everything on my calendar. I didn't learn that from back home in Mexico. I learned it here in Indiana. And it's very important, all jokes on the side, it's very important to prioritize the things that matter to you the most. So in my case, I'm going to talk about, for example, I have good best friends, I have family, I have a daughter, I have a girlfriend, which is here right now with us, and how to pay attention to that and invest the time. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I get very excited with my project, and I'm that kind of guy that, you know, like in a movie, like the writers that are typing and somebody's interrupting, and I'm like, oh, no, just leave me alone. Like, I get like that because I get ideas and I start typing stuff down, and then I start making phone calls. And I'm kind of like, you know, like one of those crazy guys, but with a business. And it's important for me to know when to stop, right? So I have a rule. It's like 5 p.m. I have a really cold stop, and if there is a pressing matter like an emergency, I will push to 6. But I know immediately I am going to gravitate towards the gym, workout sesh, then take a shower, and then if I have something that I really need to go over with, I will do it again, but I won't invest more than 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And then I know that because I live with my girlfriend, I know that at the end of the night it's also important to go over her day. How was your day, right? It's not just about me. I have a daughter, so I have some calls with her throughout the week. I check in with her. She's in high school, and she loves FaceTime. She does all what the teenagers do, right? She's talking in terms that sometimes I'm not. And it's putting all that together in your calendar and to make sure that you abide by it. Obviously, all my family lives in Mexico still, so the only way I have to connect with my immediate family, siblings, mom and dad, is through the phone, right? So making that phone call is important for me because, believe it or not, my parents are a little bit old. They're in their 80s, and I still run things by them. So that gives you an idea of my connection with my own parents. And it's not really, it could be related to business, but it's related about all the decisions I take on in multiple spaces of my own life.
Yeah, that's my family's very important to you, and it's good being able to set those hard boundaries. I think we all struggle with, so it's good that you're able to manage that in a way that's working.
Healthy too.
And eat healthy.
Drink water and have a balanced diet. Just Red Bull and eat Cheetos.
The coffee's okay.
Coffee is okay.
So, kind of talked about where you've been and where you are now. I know you think about the future, you think about your plans, your legacy. Where are you headed? Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
That's a no-brainer for me. I want to take Radio 1 globally. I want us to be a marketing global agency. And I'm very excited because they're the first ones to know. I just had a meeting here outside of this room with a global company that is interested in talking about it. So it's happening. The dream is happening. It's just in the first couple conversations, but that is the dream that I have, is taking Radio 1 to be doing marketing campaigns across the world. And right now, obviously, the easiest will be Europe, but eventually I would like to expand everywhere and to be known by doing just different things that are bringing that into grade one can go out of really cool stuff, you know.
All right, so I've asked you a lot of questions, but I always want, towards the end of the more formal questions, you have like around 200 students in the room between the two classes, aspiring entrepreneurs, aspiring business leaders, aspiring community leaders, nonprofit leaders. If you can share advice, encouragement, inspiration, important message, no pressure, on the next generation, I wouldn't even say the next generation, the current generation of leaders, what would it be? No pressure.
Turn off all their social media. Everybody was like, no, we can't do that. So, in our today's society, I feel that we are driven by the objective or the money or the goals or all these things that we are always looking at as the greatest thing, right? The greatest outcome, the greatest result. My business is going to be successful, X amount of money, whatever that is for you. That shouldn't be the most important thing. The most important thing is you, it's your journey, and it's the experience of your life, of your human life. What do you want to do with your life? What are the things that you like doing? You should think about this because that should be the most important thing. That experience and you fulfilling yourself. And then, as back to what you were mentioning, if you tie that to that business, that's great, but you should take care of you first. That should be the most important thing.
We spend more time at work than anywhere else, actually. Even in the best case of work-life balance. You're at a job or doing your job more than you are at home, doing your hobbies more than the weekend hours combined. How sad if it's an unhappy existence day to day.
Exactly. I like to use sense of humor a lot in the office, even when things are, sometimes we have very heavy meetings, and I love our CEO because he will just interrupt the meeting like a silly question. Like, I really like the cardigan, Felix, where you got it? And this was all maybe, and then he will laugh, and everybody's like, we really like this conversation right now. So doing things like that is wrong, right? That can remind you you're a human being.
So now we have a chance to learn more, because I know the students have a lot of questions. I can only come up with so many. There's a lot of bright students out here that want to ask you more. So he's going to come down and carefully and answer your questions. So if you have a question, please raise your hand so he knows to bring the mic so everyone can hear it. And we'll go ahead and get started with the Q&A.
Good question.
So I'm also interested in culture and language learning and travel. What advice would you have for a student looking at doing international business?
Let's change that.
Can you repeat that question?
Okay, so I also have an interest in culture, travel, language learning, and what advice would you have for a student interested in international business?
That's a great question. So right now, because you're a college student, get as much exposure as you can. I'm sure that you should know this. You are in the United States and you have opportunities that I didn't have in my college in Mexico. So to take advantage of that, and in this case, you're interested in international, then go abroad, live there, learn their ways, learn their languages, and be kind of like soaked all that. They're gonna look at business differently. What can you learn from that? So when you come back, you bring that with you. Does that answer your question, or is there something else? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I would recommend. Take the opportunities that you have here as much as you can, and be out as much as you can.
uncertainty, just throughout life, throughout their career path, and trying to inspire change and be a leader as well.
So at the end of the day, the decision is yours, right? Whatever it is that you're going through, you are gonna be with yourself. You're trapped in your body, right? So you're gonna take that final decision. But I love the fact that we're in such a diverse society, and we have so many diverse personalities and characteristics and things. And I like my friends being very diverse, right? One of my best friends from Rwanda, one of my best friends is Canadian, and my best friend is from Saudi Arabia. So I ask them, I have this situation, what would you do? And I don't let them run my life, but I take into consideration their thoughts. I was just talking with my parents. Like, I like to pick my favorite people that I'm like, oh my God, I know this person will kill it in this situation. And then I make my own decision according to what these 4 or 5 individuals said. I mix it with what I want also for myself. So always have that backup team that can help you in a tough situation. Did that answer your question? Or? Take advantage that I'm here and I'm back in Indy, and then I don't know when I come back. Right, thank you. Like your hair, I just cut my hair, I had it like you. Yeah, I had a man bun.
You talked about failure. What ideas either failed or that you didn't think would work and didn't try that you wish you could have made work?
Failure is the gold mine. You actually don't want to be always successful. I know it sounds weird, because that doesn't set you apart. You don't learn much from it, So I call failure the gold mine. And for example, in my situation, the fact that my business failed, I was able to look back and to see the list of my clients, and Radio One was one. And I said, interesting. So with all the experience I have, this is a really cool company, 200 times bigger than my own, and maybe I can work with them. See? So perhaps I didn't end up a millionaire, so to speak, but then I had an opportunity that for me, it's $1 million opportunity. Because my office is in downtown Indianapolis, and I remember when I was an immigrant and I came to Indianapolis for the first time, I was looking at the buildings like this, and I was like, oh my God, this place is insane. Well, now my office is there. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes that failure will take you to places that you never expected. So that's the master of all teachers' failure. So you definitely want to fail. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
Hey, thanks for answering our questions. My question is more so for, you said you are a people person. For those who may struggle to communicate and make those milestones, what advice would you give to like, public communication?
Well, that's an easy one. My girlfriend is very introvert, so I have experience with that. So, challenge yourself to be out there where you don't want to be. And you're like, well, I don't want to say, it's not what I want to hear. But this is the thing, that by doing that in small doses throughout your next, semester or so, you'll find that you're becoming more of the person that you want to be. Because it sounds like that's what you want to do, you want to change. So it could be something, you could start that as with something as little as, if you're interested in languages, look for a language club. What are you interested in? And then do that little baby step where you're putting yourself out there a little bit more than perhaps before. And start looking for those opportunities to open up more, right? It's about opening up. We're all kind of like this, but when we start really being out and talking with people, we start opening up and listening, right? So it sounds like, is that something that, answer your question? Cool. I'll make sure that I tackle your questions, for sure.
If you had to wait till like after college, like until you had a degree, like how would you go from building a business from ground up? Like you had to wait until after you got your degree. You can't just go in right now.
Let's see if I understand correctly. You're asking about the right timing for building the business? No, wait. No, wait. Go for it. Go. You're welcome.
I want to be an architect, so I want to like have my own architecture firm. So that's why I need to wait until after my degree.
So in that sense, that's an obvious, right? You can be an architect until you have a degree of architect, but you can talk to architects, you can go to architecture conferences, you can connect with architects on LinkedIn, you can connect with architects on Facebook, and you can start exposing yourself in that way to them and start doing your research. What are some of the best architecture firms in the world, in the US? Who is the leading person in the Midwest, et cetera, et cetera. So that this is the thing, business is really difficult. I'm just very honest with you, very difficult. I cried, I have had the meltdowns, I've had to turn around, be a different person for my business, all the things that you can imagine. They're like, yes, you get depressed, blah, 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 blah. So the more research that you can do, the more that you can prepare yourself for that what you want to do. You want to be an architect. The more that you can, don't expect the college to complete and fulfill all of that, because that is absolutely not possible. Your teacher is not going to be able to do that. It's part of it, right? But it's not going to be fulfilling all of what you are expecting, right? So it takes extra time. I was just talking about that with my girlfriend yesterday night. So if you really want to be different in that business or career or whatever, you need to invest differently. If everybody's finishing the studies at, whatever, 4 p.m., what was the last class like? Yeah, 4 p.m., something like that. Okay, then you can take a little break and you do a little workout or something, do your thing, and then go back to it a little bit more. Those little corners that you missed. This teacher said about international business, but I really don't understand what it is. You have so many tools. Sit down with ChatGPT. Hey, talk to me more about international business. What does it look like between China and the US? Boom. I didn't have that. So you have so many more tools now where you can be ahead of the game in that sense. You can thrive differently and beat your competition in that sense. But you have to, I'm sorry guys, it's work. I know it sucks, but you have to do it. Is it? Any other questions? I get very excited, so.
So very, very kind of cliche question here. Was curious if you go back to the beginning of your career, you could give yourself like a piece of advice or a nugget of wisdom or something to tell him, what would you say?
I think I struggle a lot with insecurity. I know everybody's like, what? Like, yeah, I was very insecure. So I would tell myself, yeah, talk with everybody, but at the end of the day, you take the decision. You're the one that is gonna navigate your own life. So it doesn't matter how insecure you are, how many people you talk with, at the end of the day, the decision is gonna be yours. So know that you are capable of doing it. That, whatever it is that you want to do, you are capable. You are. Especially because we're in Indiana, one of the best states in the country, and we're in one of the best countries in the world. Boom. That's it. Very simple. We like to complicate things in our heads, but it's pretty simple. Yeah. Any other questions?
I can walk my steps today. I like it.
Yeah, let's see what it says.
Okay, so as someone with the entrepreneurship major that we're looking to start a business, and we have to speak to the panel members with the major program grade. So I was curious what advice you have for speaking to panels or members or someone who's at other firms that will help grow your business.
So you're talking about, let's see if I understand your question. You're talking about you will be talking with people that can be some sort of decision makers around you, prepare, study, like a freak. Google their names, go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook. Hey, ChatGPT, lately I've been into ChatGPT a lot. It's not me usually, but lately I've been into ChatGPT. So in this meeting I had in the morning at 10 a.m., I mean, this guy was a big deal. He's the VP of a $7 billion company. So I was like, okay, ChatGPT should probably know something about him. And I asked, I know a marketing company. How do I approach this guy? What would you say? And you'll be impressed. And it's just, I'm not advertising for ChatGPT, but just do that prepping. You'll be surprised how many people don't do that. I've stepped into meetings that they don't know absolutely anything about me. They can't even pronounce my name and say it. And I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we're starting from zero. So that is very important, and it's not because I am important. It's just that prepare for the meeting you have. That's it. So take time, and I know it's difficult sometimes, but guess what? I put it on my calendar too. In 1 hour, I'm gonna have a meeting with so and so. Do I know anything about it? So yeah, you got so many tools right now, guys. So many tools that help you with just so much.
If you aren't ready right now to dive into learning new languages, what advice would you give for building cultural humility and developing a deeper understanding of just different perspectives, like in a way that's still just as impactful as learning like a new language?
Thank you for that question. I really appreciate that question. It gives me the goosebumps because I love and I breathe multicultural awareness. And that's one of the reasons why I decided not to leave the United States, because I have exposure to all these cultures, really. So, for example, when I went to the Detroit area, I realized that they have the biggest Iraqi, people from Iraq, community in the entire world outside of Iraq. So what I did was, I'm interested in Iraqi culture, so I went to that neighborhood and I just started walking. Went to a bakery, sit down and started walking and talking and trying and with my broken Arabic and ordering stuff and eating with them. I went to mosques, I went inside, I asked questions about Islam. I don't practice Islam, I'm interested in knowing, etc., etc., etc. So you live in a country where you probably have the most ways to learn from others without speaking their language. You don't really need to, because most of many other cultures really speak, at least at some level, English. So that would be my suggestion to you is get that exposure, go and tap those resources because they're here. And specifically, I see here in the crowd, there's so much diversity. So you can have friends that are whatever you're looking for to learn more, you're looking to pay, I'm a little bit scared about LGBTQ. Well, I'm gonna have a friend that can explain me and answer some questions about that. I'm a little afraid about Mexicans, are they all illegal? All these questions that I have in my mind. Then have a friend who is Mexican, ask them the questions. I love it when people approach me and ask me questions about my own background, even if for other people sounds dumb. For me, it does, and it makes me feel appreciated. So I would encourage you
to tap into those resources that we got here. Yeah, for sure. Questions? I love talking. I can talk all day.
We have time for 2 more questions.
2 more. Could be repeat. There you go.
Thank you, Corey.
Corey.
Kind of piggybacking on her last question, what phrases and kind of sayings would you pocket or learn before going to other cultures and places where they speak different languages? Like you just practice learning hello in that language, what other phrases?
I love your question. I love it so much because that's been one of my focus in my adult life. And a few phrases. Hello is definitely by default, rule of thumb, learn hello. I know in about 30 languages how to say hello, thank you, you're welcome, go ahead, sorry, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. All the things that will break the ice, so to speak, or allow you to stand out a little bit more and be like, they're gonna think about you like, okay, this person is trying, right? This person is doing something a little bit beyond the rest of the tourists. That's appreciated, right? Different cultures react differently. I'm not gonna get into that, but for the most part, everybody's pretty cool when they're just okay with you attempting. But there are some languages that sort of do like this. But that's, again, failures part of the process, right? Before I was able to speak Portuguese fluently, there were a lot of people who made fun of me. You know, from Spanish, I mixed a lot. The Spanish and the Portuguese, and there I wasn't doing that, so I had to take private classes to really perfect that. So, anyways, yeah, try those phrases. It's fun. I like it. My favorite is, how are you in Hungarian? Hodzi Baji.
So I know that you're learning 3 languages. Are there any more other languages that you also want to learn?
Oh my God, I love your question. Yeah, I would love to learn Arabic for sure. It's one of my favorites. And I mean, Icelandic is more like a dream. I don't know, probably that would never happen, but I like weird languages like that. Turkish, I'm studying it, but it's also kind of like an isolated language. There are like 37 million people speaking it, so it's not like a lot of people. I don't know. So it's not a lot of people, that's all I want to say. So yeah, so that's something that I think about always expanding that. So for now, say Arabic.
Yeah, that didn't take that long, so yeah.
One more?
Go ahead, Jessica.
I am studying languages and I want to learn other languages that have entirely different alphabets. Do you have any tips or tricks on how to learn an entire different alphabet system? Because I know you mentioned you want to learn Arabic, that's also a language that I want to learn as well as like Mandarin, but I've never had the experience with a different alphabet before.
Yeah, the best way is figuring it out yourself. I remember backpacking through Greece and being like, oh my God, like what is this? At least in Turkey, they use the Latin alphabet, so the same kind of letters that we use for English, right? But in Greece is the Greek alphabet. So I started trying to figure it out. That's what I would recommend you. Try to figure it out by yourself in however way possible. I remember walking and looking at a pharmacy and I said, oh, that's the word for pharmacy. You see, the trick with languages, and I love your questions about languages, but the trick with languages is, if you're interested in learning a language, do the approach of a baby. What is the approach of a baby? A baby doesn't learn by saying, okay, so the word for door in Spanish is puerta, so I'm going to translate puerta to door. No, it's how it's the opposite. It's how babies learn is they see something, black jacket, and I'm thinking black jacket. There's no translation. It's that thing, the image to the word. Understand what I'm saying? So when I have taught languages before or talked with other people who love languages, is connecting the word directly to the thing or a person or a place or whatever it is that that word means, not doing the translation. So you're learning it, say you're trying to learn Spanish, trying to learn it directly from your mind to the language, not translating it. The beginning is really difficult to do that because our minds will try to trick us. You know, this means this, and you're like, you gotta tell your mind, no, this is different. See, that's what I was talking about, appreciation of life in different ways through languages. There's some concepts in languages that don't even exist. In Portuguese in Brazil, they have a term called saudade. Saudade is when you miss something so much that you love that and that is within you. So I have saudade for Mexico. Mexico lives inside of me. I don't need to be there. I don't need to touch it. I know what it feels to be there. I know what Mexico feels. So that is something I carry with me always. And I love that concept. And that word saudade doesn't exist in any other languages that I know. So those kinds of things are really important, really cool to learn. Find those things that kind of talk to you. Yeah, I think that's it.